Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Journey Hub. And today we have a special guest with us, Boris, a marketing strategist, student of media and advertising in Toronto, also vice president for marketing development Group M, board member in NAPS and at Club of Toronto. We are super excited to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. So let's just jump in right away. So first of all, I know that was a very quick introduction, but we would love you to introduce yourself too. Tell us more about like what you do. And just to add to this, tell us one thing that you wish you had known when you started your career.
Okay. All right. So for those who I haven't met, my name's Boris Cho. I am the Vice President of Market Development at Group M Canada. I'm also a board member of the National Advertising Benevolent Society, also known as NABS Canada. And I also sit on the Ad Club of Toronto Board of Directors, chairing Digital Day this year. So your first question was, what's one thing I had wished I'd known when I began my career? That's a great question to start off any chat. There's actually many things I had wished I'd known before I started my career. But one thing that surprises me today, that it's the amount of resources available to industry professionals like yourselves and myself when it comes to learning and development, mental health support. To me, it's just astonishing how much of it is available that most of us probably don't even know exists. And I wish I had these resources when I first started my career. I think that it would have helped me to either accelerate or sort of manage myself through the process.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is really important in today's era. I just wanted to add quickly on that point, considering this pandemic thing, I mean, the resources that have come up for the people, specifically in this online world, is really enormous. And with all the things that are going on, I kind of agree with, from where the people who are veteran in the industry, we have met like a lot of people who are specifically veteran, and you yourself being a, I'd say, above par among all those. It's something that is really important, and I mean people are really missing it in a way where digital resources can really help them and can be a value add. So I completely agree with that point for sure.
And before Shreyas jump in a second question, I have a quick follow-up. So just wanted to ask you about the resources because you mentioned that. I guess like as a student myself, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago, I still remember that moment when everyone is like, go on LinkedIn, go to Indeed, like go to HubSpot, like Hootsuite, like, and there's like a lot of different like platforms you can go to. There's so many resources right now. It's kind of insane. So what are your like favorite ones, or like for a graduate or a student, like where would you recommend to go to get that knowledge that they would be able to apply practically, maybe I guess later on in the job?
Well, navigating all the resources available could be a bit overwhelming. But if you're really focused and understand exactly where you want to go in your career, you can sort of dial it down, sort of put it through a funnel and then take the best or what's most relevant to you. But for me, I feel like there is an opportunity for a lot of young industry professionals to take advantage of websites like the Trade Desk or General Assembly, doing the Facebook Blueprint or Amazon, and any sort of commerce training. That always helps. Understanding the programmatic ecosystem and the landscape, also very important for future digital marketers. So sites like the Trade Desk and General Assembly are probably a couple of my favorites. But there are resources out there like such as NABS and Ad Club, who put on events tailored directly to young professionals who are starting out their career, and just giving sage advice and guidance as to how to navigate the job market.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It was such a great point in terms of using Trade Desk. I've heard a lot, so I completely align with that. A lot of people telling that how helpful is Trade Desk. and specifically from a programmatic perspective. So I kind of, agree with that 100% there. Yeah,
Yeah, also a quick shout out to the ICA, who also have a ton of resources for agencies and industry professionals, including training, a lot of learning and development programs that they initiate throughout the year. So always encourage anyone in the industry to check out the ICA event calendar to get familiarized with what's happening.
100%. That's there for all the audience there. You got it. So yeah, I mean, that's great, all these resources, Boris. But I know that now moving on to the second question, it's kind of a different question. I mean, people usually ask about all the successes that people had in their career. But here is something that I think so is pretty important, and people should acknowledge it, because this is also important, that this thing leads to the another. So what is the biggest failure that you ever had, if you have one for sure? And what did you learn from it?
I think failing is important. It's part of succeeding. Um, and of course, I've gotten a few failures I could probably pull out of the bag, but I've been asked this question before, and I think we should talk a lot more about failures, like the things that we failed at, so that other people can learn from our experience. So I'm going to use this example. So probably one of the biggest failures I've had throughout my career was taking a job without doing the proper homework. Sometimes, early on in your career, we're just excited to work and to start learning, right? But what I encourage people to do is to take a step back, and really do the homework around, the company you're working for, the people you're going to be working for. So I'm a believer that we've all kind of been here before, but if you haven't, I hope that you don't come across the situation and you can avoid it. But I'm hoping by sharing this, it'll help others to avoid the same mistake that I did. So many years ago, I had traded one job for what I believed to be a more comfortable job, and it turned out to be the most uncomfortable job I've ever had. And so I worked at this startup type fashion company. The boss was terrible. He's exactly what you would imagine a terrible boss to be. He was, quite incoherent. He was pretty sexist, inappropriate, and just it was a toxic environment. And after working for this company and this person, I took time off to work for myself. I really was turned off at the idea of having another boss like that. But when I came back, I was a lot more focused, and I compiled a list of companies and the people that I would love to work for one day. And it was a very specific list. And I did this as a means to do something meaningful in my next job, and to work for people who I could share similar philosophy around values with. So my biggest failure drove me to take on a bunch of passion projects, but it also gave me the opportunity to start career mapping where I really wanted to be, right? So I think taking on a job, hating it, leaving it, it gave me clarity to pursue a more focused a career map.
I think that's a great point, and I feel like a lot of people been experiencing that when they get to the job and they don't like it much, and also they are scared to leave, and that might be not the case for you, but as a student myself, like a while ago and graduate, like you probably know that like when this is like your first job and you got an offer, you're like offer finally, like I
Yeah.
need my permanent residence and it's going to be a fit for my permanent residence, so like you get so excited. And I know a lot of students and graduates just like asking me questions sometimes, like how do I get a job, and I usually start with like, but what do you want, like what's your passion, like what's your interest. So what would you recommend to those who, for example, already got a job and they don't like it but they are scared to leave?
Yeah,
What would you say?
yeah. Um, that's probably quite common scenario, and I'm a believer that there's immense strength in being in a job for 3 months and understanding that this isn't right for me, right? So I actually believe that after 90 days of working in a place, you should have a pretty good idea whether you like it or not. But, that's the sort of a decision you have to make. And, it comes with a bit of maturity, but it also comes with a lot of strength and bravery to understand that this isn't for me and I want to pursue something else. So, my advice to anybody working a job that they're currently not enjoying, look for another job. Don't waste your time working for a company or for people that you don't want to work for, right? There are a lot of great leaders, a lot of great companies out there uh, that would be lucky to have all this new talent. I'm noticing a huge shift within the industry. A lot of people are tending to move around a lot these days. And so that advice is for those people moving around, is that there's strength in understanding that this job isn't for you, and just having the bravery to either go back to your old job where you realize it's a lot better, or you pursue something else that you're a little more passionate about.
Thank you so much for this. I feel like for a lot of people that was really important to hear, and excited to release that for like students, new graduates, for young professionals. And you've been in the industry like for a long time, and you met like so many people. So tell us about that person or people who were the most influential to you.
Oh gosh. Okay. Um, all right. So when I think about influential people that impacted me, it's not necessarily impacted my career, although there are a lot of people that have influenced my career trajectory. But first and foremost, my number one influence is actually my twin brother. Um, Anyone out there with a twin, you kind of you know what I'm talking about. You've got this sort of unspoken bond with that person, and when you grow together. And only twins, I think, could really understand that notion. But so my brother Chris, he's one of the hardest working individuals I know. He owns and operates 5 successful restaurants in the province of Saskatchewan. He inspires me in so many ways, but we both share a very similar passion for food, and he's constantly influenced me to cook more and explore new restaurants. So we really nerd out about culinary arts. But I take a lot from what my brother does in his business and I apply it to my own, because there are a lot of similarities. We both work in a fast paced environment. We've got multiple things happening all at once, and it's just chaos at all times. But I sort of thrive in that environment. And I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, but I think being constantly busy and having a million things actually helps ground me, because I can sort of foreshadow what I have to do next, so that I'm never in a position where I'm finishing a project and wondering what I'm supposed to do after that. Yeah, I think I'm getting a little off topic there, but my number one influence is probably my brother, Christopher. Career-wise, though, I owe a lot of my success in the agency world to a former boss of mine. Her name is Trisha Allen, and her and I worked at IPG together, and we worked at Group M together as well. And so Trisha and I, she hired me back many years ago and had entrusted me to deliver on my promise to grow the business and help manage the agency. And over the years, she's become a great business partner to me and a huge mentor. So I was fortunate enough to work with Trisha a couple times and hope that our paths cross again. But she's definitely been an influential person throughout my career, for sure. One more person I would like to mention, who you both know, is Cynthia Rubino. So I met Cynthia years ago through the ad club. And it's ever since meeting Cynthia, her and I had the extreme pleasure of doing a lot of fun creative projects together. So Cynthia has become someone who's really special to me. I was going through a lot of life changes, like my life was sort of flipped upside down, and Cynthia was there for me. She's just someone who sort of held my hand through everything, and she's one of the most genuine and compassionate person I know in this industry. So for anyone who's ever crossed paths with Cynthia, you'll get it. You know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know Cynthia, look her up on LinkedIn. She's an amazing machine, really. She does so much for this industry. She gives back like nobody does. So she is definitely one of the most influential people I have met throughout my life.
I kind of agree with every point here, from the family member to Cynthia, I mean, I can speak only about Cynthia for sure, 100%. What I've seen about her is, with all those students putting up all those posts, that I'm thankful to Cynthia for getting an internship. That speaks volume. Then it itself defines what kind of person Cynthia is. So I am 100% aligned with that. And it was really a pleasure to meet her. And I'm glad that I'm hearing some great high praise words from you. So it's been a pleasure, really.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about resources, and Cynthia, she runs her own consultancy business called Citron Consultancy. But recently, I helped her launch an initiative called Hiring the Future, where we're literally consulting with students and helping them get to where they want to be, right? So hoping to have them understand the industry a lot better will help them to uh, minimize mistakes. The mistakes sort of like we created, where we went through when we were looking for work.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, so to all those students out there who would be listening this, for you specifically that particular point. Yeah, so without wasting any time, moving on to the next question. I mean, there's something that we generally ask with everyone, and we want to have a perspective of every person or every guest speaker and every veteran that has been in the industry. So what does it take, or what motivates you to do your job on a daily basis, considering that you might be getting back to it again and again?
It's a good question, and I see why you ask everybody that. So when I hear the word motivation, uh, I always think about inspiration, right, and try to differentiate the both. So motivation to me is about what drives me to do what I do, and inspiration is what I kind of get out of it. If that makes sense. So my main motivation actually comes from leading a team and being as supportive as possible, right? I believe that there are a new wave of people first leaders that are going to take over this industry one day. And I want to be at the forefront of that when it happens. Another motivation for me is providing strategic value to the business, right? Really, like, am I bringing value to the organization? Am I impacting the business in a positive way? So doing that motivates me. Also, lastly, another big motivator for me is just building relationships with our partners, whether it's a client or a media partner, a consultant, or a peer. I just love building relationships. I think they really matter, especially in our industry. So meeting people motivates me. And then because I talked a little bit of inspiration, I'm going to tell you what inspires me. So when i when I'm motivated and I get to do all the things that I want to do, what I get from that is I get a sense of teamwork and camaraderie. I love being part of a team. I think there's nothing more special than being part of a group that sort of all share a similar common goal. And another thing that inspires me is obviously in this space is innovation and excellence, and also the good in what the industry can do. I judge a couple of award shows a year, and a lot of the work that I see are making a positive impact on the world, right? They're taking very tough subjects and spotlighting them, but doing it in a way where they're creating a compelling story and educating people about social issues and things like that. So when we do that, I'm incredibly inspired.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Definitely agree with you, and actually agree like with the difference between like motivation and inspiration in this case. I know we don't have a lot of time. We only have 7 minutes, and just want to grab one of the questions that we had planned, and also add to that a little bit. You shared with us what really like motivates you and inspires you, but how do you manage and handle the role of VP? Here's the reason why it's follow-up question is because I also would love to know what you actually do for your job. We had a conversation with someone else who was explaining to us the difference between like what you have on paper is like job description and what you actually do. So just to follow up to that, tell us more about your position. What is your day-to-day like?
Right, that's a good question. So my role at Group M is Vice President of Market Development. This is a newly created role. So I'm building a new department at Group M, and it's called the Growth Unit. And what our mandate is, and what my job is from a day-to-day perspective, is to accelerate growth across our agencies. So working directly with all our agencies to sort of uncover any opportunities for clients and our media partners. We're also, consolidating and centralizing marketing intelligence and providing those services, Marcom services and strategic resources to our agencies. But we're also growing organically across our specialty business units like Zaxis and our programmatic business units. We also have, Inca and Finecast. We have a lot of products such as Midas as well that we have available to our clients. And I think that my big mandate really is to how do I package that and deliver it in a concise and consistent manner right across all our clients. So working with all the agencies and all the business leaders to sort of build the business any way we can, and that's sort of my role.
That's really sounds interesting. I mean, that is something that speaks volume. I mean, creating a department and, in where you can lead all the subsidiaries of Drupam and itself is a big thing. I mean, I'm really like happy to hear that, because the last time when we heard something from other person, the last episode, it was a complete different story, and it's a complete different experience hearing about a business development experience. So really glad to hear that.
Yeah, like Group M is we're a big company, right? So working from the Group M level, we're built to be in service of our agencies. So supporting them in every way possible is our number one priority. So in other words, we're not only managing our own core business, but we're also helping to manage our agencies and specialty services. It's a lot of work. There's an incredible team behind the curtains who keep a huge company like Group M operating. A quick shout out to my boss, Sarah Bobes. So she is amazing. She's someone I've recently started working for and admire so much. Everything that happens at Group M will trickle back to her and Kevin Johnson, our CEO. Kevin and Sarah are such important pieces to our growth strategy, and I'm so lucky to work alongside them and bring all these cool new initiatives to life. So I don't do it alone. I have a great team.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we don't have time, but me and Jarina have talked with Sarah, so we know Sarah. I mean, she's amazing. I kind of agree with you there. So yeah, moving on to the last question. We only have like 3 minutes. So it's a really important question, and we want your perspective on that. So we want to know that what advice do you want to give to all the young marketers out there, or who want to pursue a career similar to yours?
Okay, that's a great question. So my advice to anyone who wants to pursue a similar career path to myself really is to take advantage of the industry resources available. We mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, but through industry trades and organizations, or from like your agency or companies that you're working for, they've got some resources you should tap into. Another piece of advice I'd give to anyone is to approach opportunities with curiosity and genuine intent. Don't just apply for a bunch of jobs because you want a job. Really figure out what you want to do and apply with intent. It's an interesting time to join the advertising and media industry. I think that things are evolving at a much rapid pace than ever before. So if there was a time to consider a career in media or advertising, it's definitely now.
Thank you so much for this. Definitely agree. And I think we already discussed it like in the beginning. There's so many resources available right now. It's just a matter of like passion, like you just need to want it and just go get it. So thank you so much for this amazing advice. I think that that's pretty much what we had today for the questions. But this was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing so many, like your experiences, super amazing tips. Also was super interesting to hear about like what you do. I feel like there is a usually inconsistency with like what you were told you will be doing, what you're actually doing at the job, or like what you're learning. So it was definitely interesting to hear about what you do. Actually, I'm super interested too. So maybe that's where I'm going from my paid social. But super, super interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure. And we just hope that we're gonna meet again and you're gonna join us at some point again for a wonderful chat.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for doing what you both are doing.
Certainly, it was a pleasure. I just wanted to personally thank Boris, for accepting our invitation and being as a guest. It was certainly a pleasure, and it will be really helpful for all the audience that will be listening to this episode. I mean, it would be certainly a resourceful thing for them.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a great evening and take care. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.